I got one chasing me. I got one chasing me. I'm just going to fight him up here. I think it's going to be a 1v1. Yeah, I'm just going to fight him up here.
The fuck? They see me how? They see me. This is what I don't understand. We all, right?
Too much strafing. Oh, his boy came up. I got one more on me, guys. Ooh, not today. Yo, you had to see them up here. They came for it. They came for it. Ooh, got an emote on them real quick. There's two more somewhere. Oh, I got them right here. Oh, got another one. There's just one more. Just one more. Get him, Nasty. You got him. Let's go. Yo, I'm coming up behind them. I think they're focused on you. Oh, you guys went down. I got one. Oh, they're chasing me. They're coming for me now. I still got it, boys. Oh.
Oh my god, I'm shocked, bro.
Oh, melted him. Got another one. I'm gonna try to finish him with a pistol.
I died from the shot, bro.
Oh, I got him. I'm a melee. Oh, he's so lucky. The melee failed. So I know a lot of you guys are wondering what build was that? Well, it's a fan favorite. Let's dive into it. So for the weapon, I'm running the FAMAS. Now the FAMAS is probably one of the best PvP weapons in the game. It's been like that for a while now. It has assault rifle, health damage, and then 10% damage targets out of cover. Obviously, you guys know I have mine at max. Well, it was at max. Now we have 24 expertise. It's at 23 expertise. So on this weapon alone, I'm getting an additional 23% weapon damage. Now the total damage, based on all my stats, I'm at 98,000.5. We have 90 RPM and 50 in the magazine. Now I have Optimus. Weapon damage is increased by 3% for every 10% ammo missing from the magazine. I have 5% crit chance on the sight. I have 5% crit chance on the underbarrel. I have 5% crit damage on the muzzle. And then I have a 20 rounds in the magazine plus that negative 10% reload speed. Now for my secondary, I have the custom M870, and this is just to kind of like finish off enemies when I need to. Has shotgun damage, damage to armor, damage targets out of cover. It is at 17 expertise, and we also have Optimus on this one too, with crit chance, reload speed, and crit chance. So ideally, these are my two go-to for PvP. Now, since I do have the Ouroboros, I can actually swap out the custom M870 and put the Ouroboros on there too. But for this build, this is kind of how I have it set up. Now, I am running the Coyote mask. This is good for group and solo play because you're going to gain a lot of crit damage, especially if you're fighting people close range, right? So we have 15% weapon damage, we have crit chance, we have crit damage and critical hit damage mod. And then we have pack instincts. So if you look 0 to 15 meters, 25% critical damage. So anybody within those 15 meters, a lot of crit damage I'm gaining on the build. Not only that, for my teammates, they're going to be getting that too. Now, if the enemy goes further, right, 15 to 25 meters, that means we'll be getting 10% crit hit damage and 10% critical hit chance. So ideally, if you are going to run the Coyote mask, you kind of want to be around 50% crit hit chance. Obviously, you know 60% is cap, so that would put me at cap, right? So that's kind of anything 25 meters and above, you hardly ever fight. Sometimes you do, but hardly ever with the FAMAS. For the chest piece, we're running the Fenris chest piece. That's going to give us 10% assault rifle damage. We have armor on here, we have critical hit damage, we have critical hit chance, and then we have critical hit damage mod. Now we have Unbreakable. When your armor is depleted, it does repair your armor. Now 95% is for PvE, but if you were to toggle this and show PvP stats real quick, where is it at? It would be 50%. So just so you guys can see, there's a difference for all of you new players. It's not 95% for PvP, it's 50%. For the holster, I went with the Carl's holster. Allows me to stack another blue core. I get 10% skill haste, and then I have critical damage on here, and then weapon damage. So I'm getting 15% weapon damage. I have a blue core, and then I get that critical damage. So ideally for this build, it works great, and that's why I'm sitting at 1.6 million armor. For the knee pads, we're running with the Fox Pair knee pads. It's gonna give us weapon damage, 8% damage targets out of cover, and then 6% critical hit chance right here. So ideally, this is an amazing piece to put on this type of build. You're gonna hit hard and you'll see the difference when you run it, even though we're not taking advantage of that rifle damage. Now I am running a 2-piece Walker and Harris, so you'll see I have 5% weapon damage and 5% damage to armor on here. We have armor, we have crit chance, we have critical hit damage. And the reason why I like running the 2-piece Walker and Harris is because it allows me to get another crit hit chance roll on here. If I were to roll something like the contractors, I would actually be missing out on critical hit chance, because I would have to either put critical hit chance there for that critical hit damage. I like the Walker and Harris. It just fits better with the build and allows me to reach that 50% plus range of critical hit chance on the build, allowing me to crit more. So just something for you guys to keep in mind. Now on the SMG build, that's why on my SMG build, I do run the contractor gloves over the Walker and Harris, because I'm already at that cap. I think I sit at like 58% critical hit chance on that build. And then for the backpack, we have the Matador backpack. This is our second piece of Walker and Harris. We have armor, crit chance, crit damage, and critical chance on here. Now, the reason I do like the Matador backpack versus the regular Adrenaline Rush, it gives you 2% more per enemy. So it's a total of 6% if you have 3 enemies. Now, if you have the regular Adrenaline Rush, it's 10%. So ideally, for me, perfect Adrenaline Rush gives me a little bit more survivability, especially when you get in those areas when they almost have you down and your Adrenaline Rush procs. A lot of survivability there. If you want to go straight damage, you can switch this up however you want, but ideally the survivability you get from the Matador is very impressive. For the skills, I either run the decoy or I run a pulse. It depends on what my team needs. If we're just all running random skills, then I'll run a decoy. If we need a pulse, I'll switch to pulse. And then I definitely pair it up with a defender drone, because remember, the defender drone is going to give you PvP damage reduction of 12% on this build right here. So that's why for me, it works out really good. I also have 6% damage reduction in the feed slot. We have 10% health, 7% duration. And then I do have this at expertise 15 for an additional 15%. But you remember that all gets changed once it goes into the PvP modifier. So where PvP damage reduction is at 12%. So still very good on this build when it's active. That could be the difference between you winning gunfights and losing gunfights. So if we go to the weapon, you'll see we're at 56% crit chance, 134% crit hit damage. Ideally, I could actually drop this down to 50% since I am running that mask. So something for you guys to keep in mind. If I want to stay at 56%, because in PvP you fight really close range and no one else is running the Coyote mask, then ideally that's where I would probably stay around 56. But typically when I run this build, I do run 56% crit hit chance and 134% crit hit damage, 75% headshot damage, 5% armor damage, 21% health damage, and then 18% damage to targets out of cover. So that's where we're getting a lot of our damage on the build. We're sitting at 1.6 million armor. So overall, it is amazing. Again, if you want to increase that critical hit damage and reduce that crit chance down to 50%, you can. And then you just swap that out right there. And if we go back to the stats, you'll see we're at 50% crit chance, 146% crit damage. So you can play with this however you want. Ideally, remember, you want to stay above 50% crit chance. Anything below is a no-go for me, especially in PvP. So 50% to 55% is kind of the range I like to be in, even when I run a Coyote mask. Now, if we have 2 Coyote masks on our team, then realistically 50% should be where you want to be at. But if we only have 1, 56% is probably going to be better for you, because you're more likely to hit more crits. So just something for you guys to keep in mind when you guys are PvPing. But that's the build right there, guys. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Still one of the best PvP builds in the game. And remember, you guys can actually put more armor on this build if you need. If you feel like 1.6 million armor is too low for you, that's where you guys could add. You saw the Foxfur knee pads were red. You could swap that to blue, and then you'll have 1.8 million. So I go from 1.6 to 1.8 for PvP, especially if I'm running Unbreakable. That's kind of my fluctuation area that I like being in, especially since most of the time we run in a group. So something for you guys to keep in mind. All right, we're gonna wrap it up here, guys. Appreciate the support, appreciate the love. I'll see you in the next one. Nothing but skills out.